Hey, kids and parents, thank you so much for walking this journey with our children's ministry this December as we are approaching Advent. You've spent 23 days, and now this is the 24th day that we've been able to tune in with you and read the Christmas story. You've been walking through the Old Testament, and I believe it was yesterday we landed on Luke chapter 2, saw that very vivid imagery of the angels in the sky. Miss Lori and the Langdon family read that to you. Tonight, Christmas Eve, on the last day of this 24-day Advent calendar, we get to look at Matthew 2. And the difference between Matthew 2 and Luke 2 is that Matthew 2 gives us a glimpse of the wise men. Miss Ashley is with me, and she's going to read from Matthew 2 in your children's storybook Bible. So kids, parents, moms and dads, you listen in as Miss Ashley reads the story for us today.
Hey guys, and Merry Christmas. So if you have your Jesus Storybook Bible, you can open it up to page 192. And I'm going to read from, this is a story from Matthew 2. This is called The King of All Kings, the story of the three wise men. So first of all, my favorite part about this story is that Jesus came as a baby, but he was indeed a king. So follow along with me and you can read about it too. So it starts. Far away in the east, three clever men saw the very same star. The star that God had put in the sky when Jesus was born. They knew it was a sign. A baby king had been born. They had been waiting for this star. They knew it would come. He's here, they shouted, he's here. And I'm sure if you'd been there, you would have heard them laughing and dancing and singing until the sun came up. At dawn, they packed up their camels and wrapped gifts for the baby. They brought their most precious treasures of all, frankincense, gold, and myrrh. Special, sparkly, lovely smelling, gleaming things. Just right for a king. The three wise men, actually, if you'd met them, you'd have thought they were kings because they were so rich and clever and important looking, and they set off. They rode their camels across endless deserts, up steep, steep mountains, down into deep, deep valleys, through raging rivers, over grassy plains, night and day and night for hours that turned into days, that turned into weeks, that turned into months and months until at last they reached Jerusalem. Jerusalem was by far the most important city for miles around. And as anyone can tell you, that's where a palace would be. And kings are born in palaces. So that's where they went. But they were in for a surprise. They went to see King Herod. Surely he'd know where this baby was. But he didn't. In fact, he didn't like the sound of a new king and made him cross. He didn't want anyone to be king except for him. But Herod's advisors told the three wise men what was written in their books, what God had said about the baby king. Go to Bethlehem, that's where you'll find him. Suddenly the star they had seen in the east started moving again, showing them the way. So the three wise men followed the star out of the big city, along the road into the little town of Bethlehem. They followed the star through the streets of Bethlehem, out of the nice part of town, through the not so nice part of town, into the really not so nice part of town at all, down a little track until it stopped right over a little house. But wait, it wasn't a palace, and there weren't any guards or servants or flags or red carpets or trumpets or anything. Did they get it wrong? Or was this what God meant? Sure enough, in that little house, there, sitting on his mother's knee, they found him, the baby king. The three men knelt before the little king. They took off their rich royal turbans and gleaming golden crowns. They bowed their noble heads to the ground and gave him their sparkling treasures. The journey that had begun so many centuries before had led three wise men here, to a little town, a little house, to a little child. To the king God had promised David all those years before. But this child was a new kind of king. Though he was the Prince of Heaven, he had become poor. Though he was the mighty God, he had become a helpless baby. This king hadn't come to be the boss. He had come to be a servant.
Thank you, Ashley. You know, one of the things we've been learning, and I'm sure you've caught on by now over these 24 days, is that the Old Testament in our Bibles, all of those books that prophesy about Jesus, they're really pointing towards this event of the coming of the Lamb of God, the coming of Jesus. You might say it like this, that the entire Old Testament is asking this question, where is the Lamb? Where is Jesus? And the New Testament answers that question by saying, behold, the Lamb of God is here. Jesus is born. You know, maybe a main idea that we can kind of put a bow on our time today, and not only the entire series, but today as well, is simply the fact that God keeps his promises. And God makes promises throughout the Old Testament. We've been reading those over these 24 days, but Christmas has a sense of saying God has kept his promises. He's kept them, and then now he is going to make those promises come true in Jesus Christ. And Ashley read that Jesus did not come to be a boss. He came to be a servant. You know, you fast forward in the gospel accounts. The Gospel of Mark, for instance, tells us that Jesus did not come to be served, but to serve. And then you fast forward a little more in the book of Philippians. Paul tells us that Christ emptied himself, becoming the form of the servant in human form. And what he's talking about there is he served us by dying for us on the cross. That was the very crown, really, of his ministry, is that he was dead on a cross and buried in the grave and then rose victoriously 3 days later. So bottom line, kids, parents, as we celebrate Christmas Eve tonight, I want you to think deeply and pray through the very fact that the God we serve, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, the God of both the Old and New Testament, is indeed a God who keeps his promises. That's worth celebrating, not just on Christmas, but on every single day of the year. I want to say thank you so much for our children's ministry putting these videos together. Miss Caitlin Taylor has done a fantastic job. I hope you and your family have benefited from this series in the month of December. By chance, you are watching this early on Christmas Eve, and you are wondering if you should do Christmas Eve with us at Coates Baptist. Let us invite you to join us here this evening on Christmas Eve for a very special Christmas Eve service. If you don't feel comfortable making it in person, that's perfectly fine. We'll be live streaming that service for you as well. All that information is available for you on our website and our social media platforms. Again, on behalf of the leadership here at the church, thank you so much, not only kids, but parents and families, for tuning in, making this a very memorable December and Advent season for us. God bless you.
Merry Christmas.